And a very good evening. Welcome to the Saturday preview with myself, Dave Massey, on a Saturday night, Friday night even, just gone 6 p.m. We're having a trawl through the cards this afternoon. Ascot, Haydock. I'll be at Huntingdon tomorrow, so trying to keep up with the action, but I'm going to be busy. I'll have to see how it goes. As far as having a watch of the bigger races go. And of course, the two big races tomorrow. I want to ask it. We get the Altior surname clashing at Haydock. We get the Betfair, where we get the Bristol de Mai Lost in Translation class. Neither of them make any appeal as betting propositions. For what it's worth, I think surname wins at Ascot, if only because I think Altior's stamina runs out late on in the day. He's the classier horse of the two. I've no doubt of that, and the stack of grade ones tells you that. But tomorrow, there's already been rain at Ascot today, and there'll be a bit more tomorrow. It's going to put an emphasis on stamina, and I'm sure the Paul Nicholls team are fully aware of that, and they'll be using surname to his best advantage to try and run the finish out of Altior. As far as Haydock goes, I think Bristol de Mai tomorrow beats Lost in Translation, but at the end of the year, I think Lost in Translation will be the better horse. In fact, I do think Lost in Translation, as I have done for the past 12 months, is a Gold Cup horse. I think he's the genuine real deal. But I think tomorrow you're taking on Bristol de Mai to home fixture for what is his Gold Cup. And I think that might just tilt the balance in his favour tomorrow. They won't be hanging around in that race. The more you look at that race, actually, they'll be, all four of them to varying extents like to push on with it. So it might turn into a little bit of a slog tomorrow. I know the ground will be desperate at Haydock, but even so, I think Bristol's probably best equipped for that. Anyway, as I say, not really betting races for me, races to watch rather than get involved with. Not sure how many races there are I want to get involved with tomorrow, actually. There's probably one at Huntingdon, maybe two at Ascot, and maybe two at Haydock. Because unfortunately, one of the horses that I got teed up to give you, the price has rather gone in the last hour, which suggests that while I've been out of the house for the last hour, somebody's put this up. I'm guessing it's a Tony Calvin thing or something along them lines, or somebody's found out what price wise he's putting up, something along them lines anyways. But anyway, in the 225, the handicap hurdle, I was also going with Breaking Waves, who was a 12 chance a couple of hours ago, is now sort of low as 8. There is some 10s around, which is probably just about acceptable, but I wouldn't want to be diving in. I'm not saying it's any great value at that price, but I thought Breaking Waves in the 225, the staying handicap hurdle, was quite interesting. He looks like he's crying out for 3 miles now. He really does. He was at the end of last year, and when he ran at Cheltenham a few weeks ago, outpaced there before staying on late up the hill. Looks ready for 3 miles. And the Noel Williams team can't do a lot wrong at the moment. And it was that really tomorrow that swung it for me over Tedham, who again is another one that's been well back for the race. Tedham's another one. There are 3 or 4 in here that are stepping up in trip, and all of them could improve for the step up in trip, and I just thought Breaking Waves is the most interesting. If he drifts back to sort of 12s again tomorrow, especially with the extra places on offer, 1 or 2 against 6 places, then he's definitely interesting. But at 8s, I'm not as interested as I was at 12. Put it that way. So we'll do the 2 Haydock races first. There's 2 staying chases on the card. There's a 3 mile 1 staying chase at 12:40, and there's a 3.5 mile staying chase at 3:40, which could be a little bit of a last man standing contest. The 12:41 bookmakers, for me, I think they've got this a little bit wrapped around the neck. I get the fact that they've gone for Burton's Well as favourite because it absolutely hosed up at Aintree, and the further they went, the happier it went. But we know about Burton's Well. There's big gaps in his CV. He goes missing for months at a time. We ran March 17, then we didn't see him again until the October of that year. Then he ran well. Then we saw him in January 18. Didn't see him again until October. He's clearly not the easiest to keep sound. And 3-1, I can happily pass him over. He might win this 10 minutes, fine, but equally, I could see him blowing out just as easily. And I thought 3-1 looks plenty short enough. Similarly, I'm not mad keen to get involved at 9-2 Creve Hill. I know he won easily at Weatherby and the step back up in trip. Probably going to suit him, but handicap has taken action as well. Give him another 7 for it. Single farm payment at 5-1 is going to be the easiest price to pass over in history. I mean, he's just one of those horses, isn't he? The handicap has relented a bit now and put him down £4, but again, he just doesn't win enough races to get involved with at 5-1. The two I liked at prices. I thought Fellini was interesting. I'd have him nearly favourite for this, I think, Fellini. I'd certainly have him second favourite. Tim Vaughan's. He's the 9 horse here. Again, given how he sort of raced last season, he really does want sort of 3 miles, I think, now as a minimum. And with that in mind, I thought he actually ran really well at Market Raising over 2.5.5. Better still because he made a couple of dreadful errors early in that contest, and I thought that'd completely do for him. But actually, second circuit, he's still on the bridle and travelling as well as anything, and he's only got run down late in that. I think with that under his belt, that was his first run since January. With that under his belt, I think he'll strip a lot fitter here. The step back up in Triple Suit, and Tim Vaughan is resurgent this autumn, back among the winners after a fairly lean time of it, I thought, last year for Tim. He's been put in 7-1, and I'd probably have him a couple of points shorter than that. So I thought he was one that was interesting. Similarly, I don't quite get why Amalfi... Well, I sort of do, but Amalfi Doug's been put in here as a 14-1 chance. And I think bookmakers have basically thought... They put him down as a summer jumper and one that's probably had his fun now. But I'm not so sure about that. He ran... a career best over fences last time at Kelso in a Class 2 handicap, same as he faces here against Mystery. That was off a mark of 137, and the handicap has dropped him £1 for that. Now, okay, it's only £1, but pound's a pound when you're going over 3 mile 1. We've got Brian Hughes back in the saddle again. He's in form. He'll handle the ground no problem. He stays. And I don't quite get why he's 14s. I think it's because of his profile. I think, say, bookmakers looking and thinking that there are other better handicapped horses in the race, and that may be the case. But he's fit, he's in form, and you're getting 14-1 for your money. So I thought he was a bit big. He might be worth a saver at that price. Quite interesting. The 340 is the other race on the card, as I say, that I was interested in. And unfortunately, again, the one that I sort of marked off for this, I ought to have done the card for the Sporting Life, by the way, so all the comments for everything are on there, and I'm not after time when I say it's already been well backed, and I'm sort of jumping on the bandwagon because it's been up since about 2 o'clock this afternoon. But the one I really like here is the bottom one, Moving in Style. Robert Walford, second run for the yard. This was with Neil Mulholland last year. Improved nice and steady throughout last year over fences and looks a thorough stayer. And I thought the run at Exeter against Orchardstown Cross earlier in the month, he really did look like he needed that run. He sort of travelled well, blew up a bit, stayed on again. That was off a marker 120. The handicap has very generously dropped in £2 straight away for that, which I think that's a big plus for him here. As I say, that was his first one for about 7 months, so he's going to strip fitter for it. Robert Walford doesn't bring many to Haydock. I actually had a look at his record. He's bought 4 in the last 5 years, and he's had 1 winner, 1 placed out of those 4. So he doesn't waste his time bringing horses here. Interesting that Sam Twiston-Davies keeps the ride as well. He's a 6-1 chance now. I think there's a little bit bigger around in places. You might get 6.5, 7. Again, in what looks an open race, I'd have him favourite. So I think the 6-1 is fair. If he went off a 4 chance tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised. I think he'll improve plenty for that first run for the yard, and I like him a lot. There's a lot in here. They've got bits and pieces to prove for varying reasons, either well-being or trip. The likes of Perfect Candidate, probably should have run a bit better. I know he finished in front of Moving in Style there at Exeter last time, not by much, and I thought that was his race really. So I would fully expect Moving in Style to reverse form with Perfect Candidate. No, the score's been put in very short here, 5-2. I think that's desperately short. I really do, because we know he's had wind issues in the past. It may well have been the time to catch him first time up at Worcester after a break, after a wind up. And he only won there by half a length. Handicap has put him up 5. I think that's plenty. I honestly do. I get the fact that that was his first chase start, so there could be lots more to come from him. But equally, I wouldn't be another one of these that's off a wind up second time, and I wouldn't be surprised if he just sort of says no thank you a second time and blows out. He looks really short to me at 5-2. I'd got him nearer 5-1 than 5-2, and vice versa with Moving in Style. So I got him nearer 4-1 than 6. So see how the market pans out, but that's how I sort of read it. So moving in style for me in that 340. One race to mention at Huntingdon, which is the 215. This is a handicap chase over 2.5 mile. Plenty of these that I was able to sort of put the pen through reasonably easily, and I thought there were two again that were interesting at prices, and they're down the foot of the handicap. The 8 horse here, Vu Cavalier, and the 9, the Premier Celtic or the Premier Celtic, depending on your pronunciation of it. They were the interesting pair. Vu Cavalier only had the 2 chase starts. What was interesting here, he ran here over 2 mile last time, dropping back from 2.4 the time before, and there was good money around for him. He was a 22 to 1 chance in the morning, went off 8.5, and there was money for him on the course as well. I was working there that day, and we took some reasonable each way bets for him. 1 or 2 knew a better run was forthcoming, and he finished third there, got beaten 11.5 lengths, but looked to be crying back out for a step back up to 2.5. Outpaced, ran on again from the last. And if he'd not belted the last, he would have finished second. Of that, I'm sure. And if he was, I think if he can build on that here, handicap has dropped him another pound. He's very, very well weighted, on old form. The worry is the Susie Smith yard. They ain't had a winner for a while. That's a slight concern. But this is a weak race, really, I think, for the money. And it looks a golden chance for Vu Cavalier. I like him. I think he's my number 1 pick for it. At 16 to 1, the Premier Celtic makes a little bit of appeal. His Kempton run in October last month looked a little bit of a sighter to me. It was almost a sort of bit of a confidence booster getting round in one piece. I do like the Premier Celtic. He's another one now that's extremely well handicapped on his old form. He's got off a mark of 97 here, and Niall Houlihan taking another 7 off makes him interesting. I think the trip and ground, I think he's got to go right-handed. I think he's happier right-handed. And a couple of his runs last year rather suggested he'd not gone at the game. And he is only 6. So again, with that chase start under his belt, which I thought there was just enough in that to make me think that there are wins over fences with the Premier Celtic. And I'd like to see a bit of money for him. But at 16 to 1, I might well have a small saver on him as well. They're the 2 interesting ones. Ascot's races tomorrow, generally speaking, I'm afraid to say don't make a lot of appeal for a bet. The only 2 races I want to touch on are the Mares Handicap Hurdle at 130, where I think if this had been a 2.5 mile race, I'd have definitely been with Oscar Rose, but whether she really wants 7.5 in testing conditions, I don't think she does. She's been put in 4 to 1. I with the ground as is, and as soft as it is, and this trip, I think the combination of the 2 is probably going to find her out. At 4 to 1, I'm really happy to pass her over. And instead, I'm going to try a small each way bet with the extra places on 60s Bell, who I mentioned, I think, on the last, well, certainly a previous Saturday preview, because she was down to run at she ran at Wincanton earlier in the month in the Mares Handicap Hurdle that was won by Misty Bloom. I would have thought she needed that run. In fact, I'm sure she would have needed that run, and it was the first run for Tom Simons as well. Her form last season, I thought, was nice and progressive throughout the year, and her defeat of Kisses for Katie, who has been placed in graded, but I think she was placed in a grade 2 bump. I mean, she panned her at Newton Abbot in the summer. I don't think she's a summer jumper by any means. The ground is going to be a concern. I will throw that in the mix now. I think I wouldn't want it any worse than good to soft. I don't think, for her to show her very best. But with that run under her belt, she'll definitely improve off of that. And this trip is definitely going to suit her. She wants 3 miles. The way she hit the line at Newton Abbot over 2.5, she was never stronger than at the finish that day. She will improve for this step up in trip. It may not be tomorrow with 60s Bell, but you do want her on side this year because she's going to win a nice handicap at some point. And the 320, the 2 mile handicap chase, it's 2-1 actually. Very much a similar sort of setup to the race that Diego de Charmille won here earlier in the month. There is pace again in the race. Imperial Presence, Speradek, over 2 mile. I think Knocknanas will probably go forward. He can be very keen in his races. So there is pace again, and there is half a chance this is going to fall to bits. And the two again that sort of made some interest, Cad Delan, who I was quite interested in previously. I don't think they didn't actually go that fast in that 2 mile race that Diego de Charmille won. They quickened it up a bit from halfway, but it wasn't that fast. And that didn't really suit Cad Delan, who needs an end-to-end gallop to come off. And I think he's more likely to get that tomorrow. It's not certain, but makes us put him in at 16 to 1, which I think is an interesting price. I could see him running better tomorrow. Cad Delan. He's had a couple of runs with Charlie Hammond on board. Charlie Hammond's off tomorrow. Sean Bowen takes over, and I think that's probably a plus. With no disrespect to Charlie Hammond, who I like a lot as a jock. But I don't think the 2 runs that he's had this season, he was second to the Bay Birch and then fourth to Diego de Charmille. They're both good runs. They were both good speed figures. And, on form, I don't think he deserves to be 16th. There's probably not a lot left in his handicap mark, but this might be more about the way that the race is run rather than who's the best handicapped. And Cad Delan makes some appeal. And similarly, for similar reasons, Vaniter, who came back to some form when second to St Calvert at Cheltenham last time, you know exactly where Vaniter is going to be at halfway, stone last. They're going to try and creep him into this. A mark of 132, he got put up £3 for the Cheltenham run, but 132 is still, he's very well handicapped on all form, and he's not got that many miles on the clock for Safety Leach yet. I think he's interesting. Again, you'd want them to go very, very quick, and almost he might be the sort to bet in running. See how fast they go for that first 2-3 furlong, and if it's the case that they're going lickety split, then you'd be, you're almost sort of take a slightly shorter price of that Vaniter. So there we go. I think those are the interesting races tomorrow. I'll put my bets up in the morning. What's the best bet out of them? Moving in Style in the last at Haydock. Really like his chance tomorrow. I think, as I say, I'd have him nearly favourite for this. I think he's got a very, very solid chance. Best of luck with all your bets over the weekend, guys. I'll be back on Tuesday with the roundup of the weekend. Thanks a lot.